So our next guest is a man that I'm very honored to call my co-chair of this wonderful event. He is Ambassador Akbar Ahmed. He currently serves as the chair of the Islamic Studies in the School of International Service at American University in Washington, D.C. He has a PhD in anthropology from the University of London and a Master's of Arts degree in education from the University of Cambridge. Jeez. Wow. He has taught at many prestigious institutions, including Princeton, and in 2004 was named the Professor of the Year for the DC area by the Carnegie Foundation. Ambassador Ahmed has been awarded the inaugural Peace Award by the Gandhi Center. Not only that, but he also was given the Medal of Excellence from Pakistan. He is an amazing human being, and we are honored to have his presence here. Please welcome Ambassador Akbar Ahmed.
Thank you, Dr. Schuller, for that very warm introduction. It really is an extraordinary honor for me to be here with this extremely distinguished panel and this extremely distinguished audience. I am grateful to Gail and Jim for inviting me. I am grateful to my dear friend, Ambassador Azmat Hassan, for recommending my name. We go back to the mid-60s when we were at Cambridge together, and he's been one of our most distinguished scholar diplomats. And I'm delighted to see Zafar and Lubna here, leaders of the Muslim community, and my student Rachel somewhere in the audience. Let me start by plunging into the theme, and I'm delighted to be hearing these themes of the founding ideals of America. I came to Washington in August 2001 as chair of Islamic Studies at American University. No one knew me. I didn't know many people. I was in class on 9/11, and the students looking at me and wondering who I was and why they were wasting their time in my class when the plane flew into the Pentagon. When that incident happened, I realized over the course of the day that my life will completely change, because everything that I had been doing in the past with my wife, Zeenat, who's here, and I'm delighted she's here as always, would mean that we would have to give back to this great country that had been so generous to us. But the big question was, what was this great country? Here, of course, we know what America is, what it stands for. Abroad, as you know, the Reverend has just come from China. People have different ideas of America, and there are many questions about America. Maybe they don't understand us as much as we do. So as a new American, I decided first and foremost to begin to explore and understand America for myself. So when my sabbatical came up, I took a whole year with my American students, and we traveled the length and breadth of America, 75 cities. I wrote up a book, Journey into America, and a film, and you'll see a bit of the film, the ending of the film after I finish speaking. Now, what I discovered amazed me, it stunned me. And sometimes outsiders can see you better than you see yourself. Yeah. You take a lot of things for granted. Did you know, for example, a lot of Americans don't know this, that there's a statue just outside the university that Jefferson created, dated 1786, which says religious freedom. And it starts by mentioning the name of God for Christianity, Yahweh for Judaism, Allah for Islam, Brahma for Hinduism. Just think of the date I'm giving you, 1786. Take a look at the globe at that time. There are kings in Europe who believe they're descended from the sun. The Japanese emperor believes he's a direct descendant. And here are people in this country with this completely new vision of the world. And I understand that there were problems with the African Americans, the problem with women, but they will come. They will not disappear. Those will be accommodated. It's the ideals that are being founded. 1786, George Washington, the only book he writes has the title Civility and Good Behavior. So this is not going to be a land of barbarians, it's going to be a civilized land. And these two virtues are going to be very prominent in American values. Franklin, if you read what Franklin writes about the Prophet of Islam, you will be amazed. This is Benjamin Franklin, very scholarly, very wise man of the world. So I learned these things on this particular journey, and I realized that Americans have a problem, which is they're constantly taking these extraordinary world figures, the founding fathers, and putting a fence around them and saying, America, America, America. These are world figures. Why can't people in China and India and Africa look up to these figures and say, we too want to share these ideals? What are these ideals? Knowledge, humanity, family life, education, sharing, living with neighbors as good neighbors, all these come out of the founding fathers. Christianity is influencing them. Their reading is influencing them. The Enlightenment is influencing them. They still have a long way to go. They're human beings, but they have started the journey. Now, I was constantly amazed on this journey when people would ask me about Islam. There was a lot of interest in Islam. People would say, do Muslims, are they predestined, prepared to be violent? And I would explain, and I want you to please recall this, remember this when I share this with you, that God in Islam has 99 names. And two of the greatest of these, which God recognizes for himself or herself, we don't know about the gender of God, are Rahman and Rahim. Rahman and Rahim are compassionate and beneficent. So if I, as a Muslim, define myself by this God who is compassionate and merciful, how can I be violent? The Prophet of Islam is described in the Quran as a mercy unto mankind. And we are talking of a civilization of 1.5 billion people. They're not going to disappear from the face of the earth. They will take different forms, there'll be different borders perhaps, but they are there. And they're exploding in all these challenging ways for us here in the United States. Now we have this new phenomena, this dreadful creation called ISIS, beheading people, killing Christians, Muslims, anyone they can get hold of in terribly violent ways. It's called ISIL, Islamic State of Lebanon. Let me assure you, it is neither Islamic nor a state, nor is it Lebanese, in fact. It's Iraqi, and so I'm not sure even why and I know President Obama called it ISIL, but I think the Reverend may want to pass this on to the President. Now, let me come to a point which will again interest you. We are talking of America and its values. But underneath the founding fathers, the vision of America, and someone mentioned the generosity of America, underneath all this is a driving compulsion, which is love, the word love. And as this very tough frontier society, we don't often use it as much as we should. But love for me is embodied by the figure of Jesus Christ. Now you may say, why is this Muslim quoting Jesus? Let me quote Hafiz. And you'll say, who is Hafiz? Emerson, one of the greatest poets of America, 19th century, absolutely adored and was inspired by Hafiz. So was Goethe in Germany. Hafiz writes, long before America is America, before it's discovered, I am a hole in a flute through which blows the breath of Christ. Listen to this music. Hafiz. Rumi. Where Jesus lives, the great-hearted gather. We are a door that is never locked. If you are suffering any kind of pain, come near this door. Open it. This is Rumi in the 13th century. This is the love and passion for Jesus. So again, I'm trying to explore what is it in this American ideal that can bind us. Because as a scholar of the world, I want to constantly look for those bridges that bring us together, not for the things that divide us. We know the problems between us, amongst us, and internal to us. What are things that can bind us? And I believe Jesus is one of them, and so are the founding fathers. Now, I had the privilege, maybe not many Muslims have that, privilege of being educated at an American college, now university, in Pakistan. It's called Foreman Christian College, run by the Presbyterian teachers. And we looked at these teachers for inspiration, for love, for guidance, and that to us represented the best of America. Think to yourself, this generous country, America, giving billions of dollars of aid. Instead of the missiles and the tanks and the ammunition, if we gave colleges and schools, what would the result be? We would be changing the direction of those nations. These Taliban and Al-Qaeda, where are they coming out of? Half literate, half understanding the world they're living in, not even understanding their own faith. And yet we grew up in a system which was ostensibly a Christian college, but it has produced several presidents, prime ministers, hundreds of members of parliament from that college, not only for Pakistan, but for South Asia as a whole. I regret to say my friend Azmat went to the other college, government college. Azmat, I don't hold that against you, because you made up when we joined up at Cambridge and you didn't go to Oxford, so you made up for that. Now, this word love, I've given you Rumi, I've given you Hafiz. Let me come closer to our times. What inspired Mandela? What made Gandhi Gandhi? What made Martin Luther King Jr.? He's attacked, he's humiliated, every effort, in the end they shoot him. But this is what compels him in the midst of everything to hold on to the idea of love and compassion. I believe that it's absolutely vital and crucial for us in this century, because this is going to be one of the most challenging times in world history. Take a look around at the planet. Now, we are very, very privileged. This really is like a Garden of Eden in the midst of a very chaotic world. But take a look around. There's Ebola, there are religious conflicts, there are racial conflicts, there's uncertainty, borders are collapsing. Even Europe, on the eastern borders of Europe, you're seeing Putin has moved in, he's taken Crimea, he may end up taking chunks of Ukraine. Where is this going to end? And how are we going to combat it? By maintaining our moral high ground. I will end with the story of George Washington, and the historians may enjoy the story. Washington has been brought some British prisoners by American soldiers at the height of the war. This is a war for independence. The country may cease to exist if he fails. And the Americans say, the British have been torturing us, and we are going to do this to the British soldiers that we've captured. And what do you think Washington says? This is the middle of a war, a fight for life and death. And Washington says, you will not do this, because we must always maintain a high moral ground. We cannot become like the enemy. What an incredible example in the middle of a war of independence. These are the things that inspire us, and I believe these are things that we should not only repeat in this country, but constantly abroad, so people understand what makes the American character. I'm very often asked, when I speak in churches and synagogues and so on, what do you think we should be doing as world leaders? And my answer is very simple. I say, just be American. Be true to your own American character. Don't lose that, because if you lose it, you're just another great power. We have Russia, we have China, we have India. There are lots of powers in this later part of the first decade of the 21st century. What makes America America are these American ideals. Whether you're white or black or whatever race you belong to, those are ideals that we can share. I will make one last point and then request Dr. Schuller to show us briefly the film, which is the closing of the film. And that is that there is now a debate, a discussion about how do we deal with the world of Islam. We have scholars and commentators arguing that there is a clash of civilizations, that there's a war to the end, 1.5 billion people, 57 nations. There are others who say there should be a dialogue of civilizations. And I think with this great movement that you are part of, the Global Peace Foundation, I think we have the privilege of being able to think of peace, of love, and effectively checking the violence in our world. There's too much violence. Whatever religion you belong to, there's just too much violence. And I constantly go back to the figures I've quoted, whether it's Jesus or those he's inspired in our times, whether it is Mother Teresa or even John Lennon. All you need is love. And I know what we did to him. We shot him. This is what we did to Jesus. We put him on a cross. But these are the people who stand up and try to hold the tide and say, come what may, I am not going to abandon the principles I stand for. Thank you very much. Thank you.